Well, all right. More players going to division rivals as Patrick Queen, standout linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens, now standout linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. As you know, and that's not just a division rival. That's like one of the biggest rivals in sports, right? Steelers Ravens. That's a very funny one for sure, and also a I think interesting one. So the Steelers, they could use a linebacker, right? That's something that they could. That was definitely a position of weakness. I felt like not that it was a disaster, but it wasn't. They could use a linebacker. Adding Patrick Queen isn't just addressing a position of need, but you could be getting a really good player with that. I mean, there were some people that had Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen as their two All Pros on their ballot, right? Like Queen was very good last year, and he took a little bit to get going, but he was kind of considered a project coming out of college. Like, I wouldn't really, I think that once he got going, looked really good. Now, I guess you could sit here and say, is there some concern getting an off-ball linebacker from Baltimore? We have seen guys kind of maybe not play as well once they leave the Ravens. We have seen the Ravens, they get Roquan Smith, who was kind of, good, but very hit or miss with the Bears. Had a lot of really good games and kind of not so good games. Goes to Baltimore and it's just an amazing, game in, game out. Is there maybe some concern that that's a easy to play position for a linebacker? And it is kind of a simpler position for a linebacker because there's a lot of blitzing, and that makes it easier for a linebacker. You don't have to play in zone coverage as much, although they do play zone coverage, and he plays well in zone coverage. It's different in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh loves the blitz as well, although they do things a little bit differently. So I'm interested in seeing how exactly the fit will work, but my guess is it would work well. I think this is a good move. And again, the details, 3-year, $41 million. To me, that's pretty good. That's a good value signing, especially with the cap jumping up the way it is. That's really kind of like a $10 million deal from last year or the year before. So, that to me, that feels like a pretty massive win for a player who was really good. And you get to take a player from the Ravens, which also is maybe an added benefit here, which for Baltimore, it feels like this is just kind of what they do, right? They get these linebackers and let them walk, but I think to me, the bigger picture point is this is probably why drafting a linebacker in the first round isn't a great idea, because a lot of times it takes them a couple of years to develop, and then once they finally do, you might get 1 or 2 cheap years out of them, but then you end up kind of developing a guy for another team, which is especially disappointing when it's your biggest rival. So, interesting situation for Baltimore, interesting situation for Pittsburgh. I'll say I like the move for Pittsburgh, and I also kind of understand why for Baltimore they probably feel confident in their ability to, develop another guy, but that they are taking a step back. There's no denying that. Defense might not be quite as good next year, but they got Derrick Henry, so I guess they got that going for them. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.